What is going on, everyone? My name is Jared. So I said I was going to make a video about kind of what was going on, and here it is. So I was accepted as a personal trainer back in the fall, and I accepted a position at a local gym. So I've been extremely busy with training as well as gaining clients and just kind of overall working. So that's honestly why I haven't been doing videos, having some late nights and just coming back to my home and wanting to relax has certainly taken precedent over making some of the videos. On top of that, there wasn't a whole lot going on as far as products and kind of things going around. Trying to be a little more, efficient into what I've been purchasing so that I'm not just wasting money. One of the things I did buy and was ultimately very happy and disappointed with was the Mate 20 Pro. So moving away from I'm getting back into videos and what kept me from them and into what was kind of happening during that, I purchased the Mate 20 Pro right before Christmas time, a few weeks before Christmas time actually, and was super excited. I imported it. I talked before about how hard it was to get in the US, but I was on the forums, everyone was having some decent luck with it. I'm like, all right, might as well try it. So I got it, love the phone. Camera is super, I would say, with enough tweaks. Certainly my favorite camera and probably the best camera of any phone released in 2018 over the Pixel, over the iPhone XS, over everything, just because with a little bit of tweaks, you got some crazy detail, especially from that 40 megapixel shot. As a point and shoot though, it definitely wasn't as good as the Pixel or iPhone just because you had to adjust more settings than I would say a casual phone photographer is going to do on the fly. But you could edit in post and the photos came out crazy good. But what really came to be the issue was receiving calls and texts here in the US. So Huawei Mate 20 Pro has everything available for it to use voice over LTE as well as Wi-Fi calling, which all the networks in Europe and natively support and activate and work just fine on the Mate 20 Pro. Here in the US, there's two bands that T-Mobile uses. I think it's 66 and 71 or 61 and 76, whatever. They're higher bands, they're basically newer bands that T-Mobile's been using that the phone didn't support. However, 2, 4, and 12 are the T-Mobile bands that the phone did support and did have. But seeing that the Huawei Mate 20 Pro was not on the whitelist for T-Mobile, I could not get voice over LTE to work. Even taking a SIM from a phone that had voice over LTE working, my S9 Plus, putting that into the Mate 20 Pro, I got LTE service, no problem, but as soon as I made a call, it would drop to 3G or H, or it wouldn't continue on LTE, meaning that it didn't have voice over LTE active. Now that wasn't the huge deal breaker for me because the calls were pretty clear regardless. The deal breaker was there was some weird setting going on with the Huawei Mate 20 Pro that if I was on Wi-Fi for a long time, the phone basically went into hibernation and I didn't get any calls or any texts until I then picked up the phone, unlocked it, and used it. It made it so I almost missed clients when I was doing personal training. It made it so I missed phone calls, some of them which were urgent, which I called back and people thought that I was ignoring. And it made it very hard to kind of be on top of my stuff when I didn't know if I was going to receive calls or texts. So that was kind of a big deal for me. I tried to adjust the EMUI battery settings because they are very aggressive in killing apps. I thought, okay, maybe it's just killing the phone app or the dialer or the Android messages app or just anything that is making it so it's not staying networkly connected to get phone calls, texts, voicemails, all of that. And I went through there, I scoured all the settings, turned off everything, or turned off the optimization on everything, which I thought would work. And there was days where it worked perfectly all day. And the next day I'd leave it on charge overnight, pick up the phone, go to work, and nothing. Just wouldn't get nothing until I made a call. And then I would get a flood of text messages and calls and missed call notifications and voicemails, which was ultimately the reason why I got rid of it. It was just too frustrating. Outside of that, the Face ID on it was awesome. The 40-watt supercharging was amazing. The reverse wireless charging, not that it worked great, but if you did have the Huawei FreeBuds 2 Pro or FreeBuds 2, you could charge your headphones on the back of the phone. That was also cool, and it was just the ultimate troll. If you had a friend that's phone was dead, you'd be like, oh, I got extra juice, plop it on here, you're good to go. I really wish Huawei was in the US more, and I know there's a whole big thing with the government and, you know, people thinking that Huawei is spying on them, and it comes down to that's more of the telecommunications equipment, like actual infrastructure, not so much the consumer electronics. But regardless, I do understand the public's distaste with the idea of having a company which is already allegedly watching over its own people, possibly watching over you. I don't want to get into like the whole politics behind it, but I would just, a last little tidbit of information is I wouldn't be surprised if there's companies in the US doing that, because some of the tech companies do work very closely with the government. So keep that in mind. But needless to say, they aren't here allowed, or I guess supported as much. They are allowed because, I mean, I had it. It's not like no one's going to come and take that away from you. But the carriers don't support them, as far as they don't say, okay, they're going to be whitelisted on our network, and you can't just go to any brick and mortar store and say, oh, I want the Mate 20 Pro. Like you can, even in Canada, you can go to carriers and buy the Mate 20 Pro. So the one that I had was the L29 LYA C636, which was the Hong Kong unlocked dual SIM variant. 128 gigs, 6 gigabytes of RAM, twilight color. It did have the in-screen fingerprint reader as well as the Face ID. I'm calling it Face ID, I forgot what Huawei called it, but it was essentially the same idea. It had the IR blaster and the dot illumination projector, all that stuff. It was, at least in my opinion, as secure and as good as Apple's Face ID. In-screen fingerprint reader was really cool. It worked most of the time, but you did have to be very specific and obviously in that one spot, and it wasn't as forgiving as the normal fingerprint readers on the Pixel, of Huawei's old devices, as well as OnePlus, all those. It wasn't as reliable or quick or as easy as the normal fingerprint readers, but I definitely think that in-screen is going to be the way of the future. So overall, I would say if you're an international viewer and you're debating whether or not to get the Mate 20 Pro, I would absolutely get it. It is a flagship device running at flagship level. If you're okay with EMUI, which truthfully, again, it looks very, very much like iOS. If you're okay with that and you're cool with it, then that phone is absolutely for you. I would say is by far the best Android, the fastest Android this side of 2018. Now, granted, 2019, there's going to be a lot more chips using that 7nm processor, which is what kind of set the Mate 20 Pro apart from all the other Snapdragon devices, and in the same category as Apple's A12, because they're both using the 7nm process, which is just the next step for silicon and system on a chip. So looking forward to, I think the Snapdragon 855 is 7nm, but basically it was very fast. It did a lot of things well. The only thing that it didn't do as well was the GPU was not as strong as what is in the Snapdragon phones. Anything with the 845 has the same GPU as every other device. So if it has that, it has the same GPU around. So the Pixel 3 has the same GPU as the OnePlus 6T, all of that. So the Mate 20 Pro was absolutely a flagship device. It was a flagship killer as far as here in the US, except the only difference was you are paying a premium price. You're not getting any deals by buying the Mate 20 Pro. You're not saving a bunch of money. I mean, when I purchased it and got it to come here to the US, it was around $950, which, yes, you are just a hair away from Apple's price, and you're very close to the Note 9's price. And I would say, arguably, if you're still looking for the most, power user device here in the US, Android style, it's going to be the Note 9. But the Huawei Mate 20 Pro is a neck and neck, a close second device. So with that, that's kind of my review, I guess, or follow-up on the Mate 20 Pro. I did contact T-Mobile support and all of that stuff, and even though I tried my best to get that to work, I tried for days to make sure that it did work. I did not want to get rid of it. I inevitably did, because I just couldn't go around missing text calls and things like that, and then open my phone and have a flood of incoming messages and alerts. So I just couldn't do it. If you're outside of the US, absolutely, it's for you. So anyway, my name is Jared. I look forward to seeing you guys more in the future, and I'll see you in the next video.